Hello, everybody, and Happy New Year. I hope everyone had excellent holidays. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by all of the kind folks who donate to the show on a monthly basis using our Patreon page. If you would like to be one of these kind individuals, visit our Patreon page, www.patreon.com/frogstyle. That's frog, the letter E, _style. All donations are collected on a tier-based system, so you can donate as little as $1 a month. And if you do donate as little as $1 a month, that will give you access to all bonus content that gets released. So you won't miss anything if you donate $1 a month. The highest tier is $25 a month, and there's everything in between. And the more you donate, the more cool rewards you get. So yeah, www.patreon.com/frogstyle. It'd be awesome if you did donate to the show, but just you listening is awesome. So thank you for that. If you'd like to support the show in other ways, why not subscribe to our YouTube channel? It's just Froggy Style Productions. I put up there's some exclusive content on the YouTube channel that you won't be able to find anywhere else. So if you're fans and you would like more content, go over to YouTube and subscribe to our channel. Also, maybe consider signing up for our newsletter. You can find the sign up page at fsproductions.ca. It's going to be the very first thing that you see when you visit the website. You just enter in your email, hit sign up, and bam, you will be signed up for our newsletter. The newsletter contains things like show schedules, download links for music from previous month's guests. It also kind of has a little section of what's happening in Calgary in regards to shows for the upcoming months. Also, by signing up for the newsletter, you are entered into a monthly draw for a cool prize pack. That prize pack usually contains things like CDs, merch, stickers, stuff like that. So visit fsproductions.ca and sign up for our newsletter. And while you're there, just check out the website. There's a lot of other really cool things there. fsproductions.ca. On this episode of Groove Talk, I am joined by my good friend, Andrei. Andrei makes music under the Wolf of Transilvania. Andrei is probably one of the best guitar players that I personally know. He shreds super hard and is an amazing individual. I really enjoyed this conversation with Andrei. We talk about music, obviously. We talk about his project, and we get into some really deeper topics of conversation that are still kind of revolving around music. It was a really, really good conversation, and I was quite surprised. If you'd like to know more about the Wolf of Transylvania, follow him on Facebook. He has a YouTube channel. He has some music out on SoundCloud that you can go check out as well. I highly recommend it. It's really, really, really good. It's all entirely produced by Andrei, so check it out. I'll have all the links in the episode notes so you can find him a lot easier. So yeah, this was, like I said, this is probably one of my favorite podcast conversations with Andrei. So thank you for listening, and I hope that you enjoy this episode as much as I did.
This is Groove Talk with Froggy Style.
Welcome to another episode of Groove Talk, everybody. On this episode, I'm joined by my friend Andrei.
Hello.
And he is the Wolf of Transylvania. That is your page and stuff, right?
Indeed. You can find me on YouTube and Facebook, and it's Transylvania with an I because I'm using the Romanian spelling. I often get guys tell me, like, it's spelled with a Y, but then I have to remind them that English isn't the only language in the world. So it's with an I, and no, it's not spelt wrong. You can Google it.
Cool. So why don't you tell the audience a little bit about that project then?
Well, the Wolf of Transylvania is just me really exploring music. So I'm recording all the instruments, guitars, bass, programming the drums. And it's just kind of my own little personal project in regards to guitar. The music is really guitar driven, so there are no vocals. It's instrumental. And I try to really focus on like the virtuosity of guitar playing. So all like the flashy techniques, but also apply that in terms of songwriting. So actually write a good fucking song. It's not just going to be, 250 notes per second shred that just like makes your ears bleed. I actually try to write a good song because I pride myself in also being a good songwriter on top of a guitarist. Yeah. So it's a project where I try to kind of blend all the arts of music, virtuosity, experimentation, songwriting, even melodies. Like I have certain parts in some of my songs that I'm recording that are very simple. Like you wouldn't like guess it was me if you just heard like a little 10-second snippet.
Yeah.
So essentially it's just like my own personal project where I just like try to do my own thing. Cool. And have control over everything.
As a musician, do you find it like hard to give up control on certain aspects of music?
I'm actually glad you brought this up, because we can also talk about this a little bit later, but I actually currently got a super secret band going. Okay. That will be revealed pretty soon. The lineup is all set and stuff, and it's all great musicians. And I don't want to say that's been an issue by any means, but that's certainly an aspect of being in a band, like all the bands I've been in. For example, on the local scene, you might have heard of Red Cane. I used to play with those guys. And it's never really been an issue where I feel like I should have control over everything. But that is certainly the biggest obstacle of being in a band, is being able to get over that and being able to figure out a way with how everyone can contribute without sort of, stepping over someone else's boundaries. That's an art of its own, honestly. Yeah. It goes even beyond like people skills. Like I don't even know how to explain it. I can't. It honestly has mostly to do with like the chemistry between the band members themselves. If you guys are so like telekinetically linked that you can just work together and not hurt each other's musical egos, then you're good to go. But that's a really difficult topic. I personally find like I can work with people well as long as we have the same vision. Yeah. Like if I bring to you an idea and you say, hey, why don't you play it this way instead? And as long as what you're suggesting to me fits the overall vision that we have of the song or the band, I'll agree with you. But if it doesn't, then I'll disagree. Yeah. So, I'm a big picture kind of guy when it comes to songwriting and being in a band in general. So everything has to be done properly. And there are many times where I've been wrong, where I kind of try to push my own idea, and then later on I'll realize, shit, the other guy or the other guys were right. Yeah. So it's a pretty like difficult topic to talk about just because everyone's different. Yeah. I mean, everyone wants to have full control. For me, the most important part of being in a band is working as a team. So working as a team, I understand sometimes you have to make sacrifices, whether that's your own ideas or you have to make compromises, Yeah. So I have no problem doing that, but it's certainly, it hasn't been easy either.
Yeah, a lot of people who I have talked to, at least, have described being in a band and the relationship that you have with your bandmates is almost like being in a relationship with, a significant other, because you're going to have conflict and you have to keep everybody happy, and it's really difficult because, like you said, egos clash and stuff like that. And
Yeah, I find though, with this band I got going on that's super secret, by the way, I can't reveal anything. I'm sorry, but trust me, it's gonna be well worth it. I find with these guys, the biggest thing when me and the other guitarists sat down before we brought along the drummer and the bass player was we wanted to actually do it properly. So we sat down and we said, the entire point of being in a band is to get good musicians together and to create something.
Yeah.
That's the entire point. Because we don't want it to just be like me doing all the writing or the other guy doing all the writing. Like, to me, that's not a band.
Yeah.
A band is where everyone contributes and everyone kind of creates this musical child.
Mm-hmm.
So we sat down and talked about that. And the biggest thing that came up is, we should be honest with everyone. We should always kind of be honest in terms of the vision we have for the band and what we think should happen next. And that has worked out great because songwriting has come so natural with these guys. And we've got like 5-6 songs down. And we're actually going to be performing live sometime in April. Not quite sure what date, to be honest. But sometime in April, I'll keep you posted on that more.
Yeah.
But it's been a great songwriting process. We've been able to just get together, take out our instruments and like pump out music that I actually feel is like awesome and like quality. And it all has to do with A, everyone being a good musicians, but B, everyone being on the same page and honest with each other. If someone thinks something sounds like shit or something needs to be tightened up, they speak their mind.
Yeah.
And they should, I mean, obviously in a nice way. You don't want to offend anyone, but that's what I really like. And this is probably like the first band I've ever been in that operates that way.
Yeah. So it seems like it's kind of more of a mature band, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
'Cause it takes a certain type of maturity to be, when somebody does come to you and be like, hey man, this part you're playing, maybe if you did it like this, or it doesn't sound quite right, or you need to tighten it up. It takes a certain kind of maturity to be like, oh yeah, okay, I see where you're coming from. Like, let's work on this, instead of just getting mad and being like, no, like, I'm playing it perfect,
Of course. And no one holds any grudges or anything. But anyways, what we were talking about now is not the Wolf of Transylvania.
Yeah. It's a super secret project.
It's the super secret project, yes, that will be revealed in the new year. It's a totally different band, than the Wolf of Transylvania. The Wolf of Transylvania is just my project, so I do everything.
Yeah.
With these other guys, everyone has input, like everyone.
Yeah.
There's no one that just shows up and coasts. Like everyone has input. But yeah, it's great, man. This has honestly like restored my like musical creativity so much.
Nice.
So it's been great.
Yeah. Just before we move on away from the super secret band, I have one more question about it.
Okay.
So when you guys do reveal the project, are you going to like kind of hit the ground running? Are you going to have recordings right off the bat? Or are you is the goal to play shows first?
I'm going to be honest. We never really sat down and talked about that.
Okay.
I mean, we did sit down and we're taking it seriously, like, no doubt about it. But we never kind of hashed out a plan because we're still in the writing process. So we've kind of just been taking that day to day and focusing on that. The only thing we kind of planned out is we kind of set that goal in April.
Okay.
When some other guys asked us to play, we agreed. But in terms of recordings and stuff, that's definitely going to happen, but not as you put it, when we reveal the band. We're not gonna like review recordings and whatnot. We're probably just going to play some gigs at first.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so now to the Wolf of Transylvania and your
your thing project. We were going to talk about.
Yeah.
Right.
So I guess because I mean, a couple years ago, or when music first started becoming a thing, you couldn't do a solo project like this. You know what I mean? You couldn't do the drums and the bass and like all of. I feel like kind of technology has helped us out, moved us towards being more creative and able to do things like that. I don't know where I'm going with this. Sorry. But I guess what's your experience with it? Like, how do you write all the parts and do drums and stuff? Because I know you're traditionally a guitar player. Mm-hmm. So how have you found it writing drum beats and bass lines and stuff like that?
Well, that's a very interesting question because I can't speak for everyone.
Yeah.
Just the way I do it is if we're specifically talking about non-guitar parts. Well, first of all, with bass, I kind of just try to think about what complements the song most.
Yeah.
So with bass, you got to cover that low end, and a lot of the times you have to really be synchronized with the drums. So I try to write the drum and bass parts at the same time. So I'll sit down and I'll sit down actually with a bass in my hand, and I'll be programming the kicks and everything first to kind of get the groove down. Think about what kind of rhythmic feel I'm going for in the song. So I do those at the same time before I even touch guitar recording at all. And when it comes to actually the technical aspect of programming drums, I kind of just I have some experience with drums, and I've done it for so long that it's kind of comes natural. But at first, years back in Fruity Loops and stuff, I'm gonna be honest, I used to kind of look at what other guys were doing, look at drum maps from other guys that sounded really good, and kind of analyze that, and then try to put my own twist on it until I understood how to add all the different dynamics on the hits and stuff like that, and how to actually make a good sounding drum map that doesn't just sound like a robot.
Yeah.
So that's probably been the most challenging part though, as you put it, because I'm traditionally a guitarist. So trying to think in terms of what best serves the song here and there has what's been really the most time consuming part on that end. And even for rhythm guitar, a lot of the time, because I'm mostly a lead player and I like to shred, as you guys know, even from that standpoint, it's been okay, what actually serves the song most here? What actually sounds good?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times you have to put your own pride aside and, play something really simple that ends up, less is more type of deal, rather than something really flashy and over the top that, you might feel really good about playing, but then to the overall sound of the song, it sounds kind of forced.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But back to your original question, yeah, I used to just analyze what other guys did when I was younger, and then that kind of just always stuck with me in terms of how to properly make a drum map and how to make it sound good. And that's actually something I pride myself in, is actually having proper drum maps.
Okay, cool. So when you are making a song, or when you do sit down to write a song, do you have an idea of what you want the song to sound like, or do you just kind of fuck around until you find some cool stuff?
I'm gonna be honest, I never sat down and tried to write a song.
Yeah.
It's always just been very natural. I get these strange creative spurts around 4 a.m. So I've just been abusing that and writing around that time.
Yeah.
Always. I don't think you can ever just sit down and force yourself to write.
Yeah.
I don't think that's how humans operate. You can't just force yourself to be creative on the spot. You have to, you need inspiration, and you need kind of the right elements to drive that creative force. So to me, it's always just been really spontaneous. It's never been a structured writing system.
Cool. Yeah, I feel like that's when all the best stuff comes out, is when, you do get that spur, that creative moment
Those 4 a.m. spurts.
Yeah,
or
and
when
you're just like, I just
playing
need
video
something
games
right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or when you're watching anime.
Yeah. But yeah, if you try and force yourself, it obviously sounds forced, and you're never happy with it in the end.
Of course, no. Then there's no point in doing it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If you're not happy with it and it's half-assed, then you might as well not even be doing it.
Yeah. Like, honestly, that's kind of why I feel like doing music as a job would almost kind of kill music a little bit, because at some point, if you are getting paid to be a musician, you're going to have to play music, or you're going to have a deadline, and you're going to have to write or play when you don't really want to. And I wonder how kind of professional musicians get over that.
I'm actually really, really glad you brought this up, because this is really applicable to me, because I've taught guitar for 7 years.
Yeah.
And it's a great job, but for a while it was really burning me out, because I was teaching every day, and then I would go home and practice my own stuff, and I was also in other bands. So I was playing music like almost the entire day, and it was not having a like positive effect on my playing, or on my overall like musical drive. It started to burn me out. Like everything started to sound like shit. It was like really weird. Like I never had that, and I know it wasn't like, not even just my own stuff. Everything was just like, it was just not sounding good.
Yeah.
So I was like, I need a break, and I'm actually really glad, I went back to school for this whole engineering thing, because it's totally helped restore that.
Yeah.
Like it's totally helped to, bring back the drive, and, now I don't do music as much because of that. I don't teach as much, so I almost crave it more.
Okay.
It's really interesting, So, that's a bit different though. If you're a professional musician, then you're, playing somewhat the same set, day in, day out. So I imagine that it also gets pretty tiring. But again, everyone's different.
Yeah.
So some people might get burnt out and hate their lives. Other people might really like that. So it's tough to speak for everyone,
Yeah, for sure. Do you see yourself being a professional musician? Like that's what you do with your life?
Yeah, that's the dream. In terms of like a traditional musician that like tours 10 months out of the year, I don't know, because I've never experienced that, so I can't speak about that. I personally like to travel, and I don't mind being away from home, so I could see myself enjoying it. But again, I can't speak for that. For me, the professional aspect doesn't really matter, because the art is more important, whether you're a professional or not. As long as you enjoy the art of making music, that's all that matters. Because if you don't, or if you're not true to yourself, then again, what's the point in doing it?
Yeah, definitely. So you said you taught guitar.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see like a benefit from that?
I actually still teach, by the way,
Okay.
but part-time instead of full-time.
Yeah.
There are lots of benefits, honestly. Even from a non-musical standpoint, like helping other people reach their goals on the instrument is awesome. Like I have nothing but good things to say about teaching itself. It's just when you combine, life with teaching and all the other musical projects, it can burn you out.
Yeah.
And I was aware that getting into it, so I have, no regrets or anything. Teaching does really help you out from like understanding the details, the finer details of music, because a lot of the time you're teaching students. So in order to teach, and we've all heard that cliche saying that you learn more by teaching.
Yeah.
So it definitely helped me out. Like I definitely became a better player, and like I became better at analyzing music itself. Most importantly, I just had the satisfaction of helping others and going to recitals and seeing like the happy families and students after they played. That was honestly the most rewarding fact about it. And it definitely had a positive effect. It's just like I said, after 7 years and with everything else going on, it did burn me out. And I did have moments where I was like, not as driven and not as passionate about music due to that. And I realized that, and I realized I had to do something about it. And I'm really glad that I kind of switched it up, and now I'm focusing on a different career other than teaching. So that really helped replenish everything. And again, I can't stress the importance of it, because music is something, it's something holy. It's never something you should like force upon yourself or anyone else to do for a living or whatnot. And you can see that in a lot of like artists who start declining really early. A lot of times it has to do with that, because they're put in this situation where music becomes a day job, and the label forces them to release 2-3 albums every 5 years, and they might not necessarily be prepared to do so. So then their content isn't as high quality, and that kind of has this snowball effect, because then your pride gets affected, everyone gets frustrated, all this stuff starts happening, and then everyone's surprised when the band splits up. And it's a sad reality, but that's how a lot of labels and stuff operate. They like to do it with deadlines, and I'm personally not a big fan of that. At the same time, I believe you should have some structure to how you operate as a musician. But I don't think you can just put deadlines on music.
No, especially like the creative process and the writing of it, But we see it so many times where a band comes out and they have a killer first album or a killer first couple albums, and then as they progress and get more and more into it and it becomes more and more of a job, the quality seems to decline a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, but back to the teaching thing, it's definitely had a positive effect.
Yeah.
More of a positive effect than of a negative effect, for sure.
Cool.
100%.
So have you always been interested in music? Have you always played music, or when did you kind of get into music?
Well, I started playing guitar when I was 14, and I like never really played an instrument prior to that. It's always I mean, I've always been a music fan, but I never really picked up an instrument until I was 14, mostly because all my friends were doing it. So it was like it was a total like fad at the time, but then I actually got really into it.
Yeah.
Like I got into it more than everyone else, and it showed, because I was able to like surpass everyone, and I just devoted like a silly amount of my own time towards it. And it a lot of it had to do with, yes, I was a music fan, but there was also like external motivation. Like I would go to I would see at my school recitals like random dudes with long hair playing Jimi Hendrix covers, and I used to think that was like the coolest shit ever. And they were really good guitarists. Like honestly, I like owe some of those guys a lot, because had it not been for them, who knows, man, maybe I would have never like picked up the guitar, because I used to think that was the coolest shit. And I picked it up, and then I got really into it, and I had my first teacher, right? And for like 2 months he was teaching me, and then I was just like, screw it, I'm gonna teach myself. And a lot of people were saying like, man, that's not a good idea, you might lose motivation, you should be keeping that that regiment of going to music lesson once a week. And it turned out to be the opposite. Like I actually got more motivated, because I realized, hey, there's guitar tabs online and there's guys who give technique instructionals. I'm just gonna do that.
Yeah.
And that's paid off. At the same time though, I have to give credit to a lot of people, a lot of good friends who helped me out in terms of technique and stuff. A lot of people who would just tell me what I'm doing right and wrong, because when you're mostly self-taught, there are a lot of pitfalls. And I'm thankful that I had those people to like help guide me, because in terms of technique, like there's a lot of places you can pick up bad habits, and thankfully I've avoided a lot of those. And now when I teach my students, I have the same approach. I'm super analytical, and I'm super nitpicky. I'm sure a lot of my students hate me for that reason, but it's necessary. You have to take your time with it.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, no, I mean, growing up, I always loved music, man. Who doesn't?
Yeah.
You know, like I don't think there's anyone out there who says, they hate listening to music.
Yeah. But there are definitely people out there where like music, they're fine if just music is playing and they like to listen to music, but say they don't delve into music, you know? Like say me or you, we get excited talking about our favorite bands or our favorite music or just music in general.
Right.
Whereas there's a lot of people out there who music is just, it's like a background thing, you know? It's not at the forefront of their mind. And they listen to, you know, like I'm not saying there's anything wrong with top 40 and shit like that, but that's what they primarily listen to.
Right. Well, you know, not everyone has to be a super fanboy like us.
Well, no, yeah, it would be weird if everybody was actually.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, that wouldn't be a world I'd want to live in.
no, it'd be a really strange world actually, because you wouldn't have people fanboying about other things like Marvel Comics or whatever, you know?
True. I mean, you know, like I said before, man, everyone's different. Like some people are more casual than others. But at the end of the day, I think everyone loves music, man.
Yeah.
Whether it's to different degrees, whether some people are like us where they just, you know, can gush about their favorite bands and talk about them for days, or, you know, they're very casual and they just listen to whatever was on the radio.
Yeah.
You know, it's still music, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally don't hate on like any genres because everyone's got different tastes, man.
Yeah.
You know, you can't, and everyone's got different, you know, it's got a different life. Some people don't have the opportunity to get passionate about music, which is really sad, right? So
Yeah.
it's one of those things where, you know, if life affords you the opportunity, and you know, we're really thankful to be living in Canada, where everyone's got, you know, equal opportunity for things, because you know, I'm from Romania, and a lot of people back home would love to get into music, but they just don't have the opportunity financially, right? So, I mean, given that we lived in some form of utopia where everyone's needs were taken care of, I'm sure you'd see a lot of musicians. I'm sure everyone would be a musician. So that's my theory on it anyways.
Yeah. And I do agree though about the genre thing. Like every genre does have its you know, hits, or that's not the right word I'm looking for, but every genre has like something admirable about it.
Right.
Just as much as like every genre has its bad stuff about it and its bad music, and I'm not saying this very well, but anyway.
Yeah, I think you're saying every genre has, you know, its own personal strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah, basically that's what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I mean, there's a lot of genres out there that I can't, you know, listen for more than 2 minutes. But I see the appeal in every genre, to be honest. Like every genre of music has something to offer, and it's good that we have variety because, you know, we have a lot more genres to draw from, you know, to rip off.
Yeah. Again, it'd be boring if everybody liked the same thing. So.
Yeah, it would be really stale because if you look at like a lot of like popular bands nowadays, like Animals as Leaders, they actually draw from a lot of genres.
Yeah.
And you know, that's personally one of my favorite bands. But what I really admire about them is they're just so willing to experiment, like with all genres. Like you hear like EDM elements, like jazz elements in their music, and it's really neat because that's what it's all about, you know. It's just pushing the boundaries and experimenting.
Yeah, for sure. And even like with EDM and like the rise of technology and stuff and computer music, I feel like we're seeing more experimentation than ever. You know, you're mixing funk with, you know, EDM elements and stuff like that, and it creates a whole new genre of music, or hip hop with, you know, again, EDM elements, and then you have another genre of music. It's there's never been more music out there, that's for sure.
I think, yeah, I agree. I think that's great, though. I don't think there's ever been like a better time to be a musician than right now, to be honest. And a lot of people take it for granted.
Yeah.
But that's just the reality of it. We've never had these tools and technologies to, be a one-man project such as myself, to actually like get a recording done by one man doing everything, which is also the appeal with the Wolf of Transylvania. Is I like to do everything, including the production. Even though it might not be the best, I just like doing everything. It's just, I don't know what it is. It's that like whole like punk do it yourself thing.
Yeah.
I really abide by that. So, humans have never really been able to do that. There's been orchestras and stuff like that in the past. You've always needed other people. But now you can be a one-man band. You can program orchestras. You can program drums. You can program whatever you want. You can produce it all yourself and release it yourself. You don't need anyone else. Nope. So there's no excuses. This is like the best age to be a musician. And true, that means there's also a lot more music on the market. But to me, that's great. Like, music shouldn't be this competition of who's more popular. Music should just be about the art.
Yeah.
So I can never see the viewpoint of people who complain that the market is oversaturated and stuff like that. I do not see it that way. I do not view music as this business or this money-making engine. It's an art form. And the more of it that is out there and that is true, the better. So those are my beliefs. And in terms of the Wolf of Transylvania, I am finishing up my demo. I have 2 tracks up on YouTube, and I got 2 more that I'm currently working on, and they're all self-made. Like I've done everything, like from guitar tones to playing, obviously, to mixing and mastering, to everything has just been done by me. So I'm really proud of it in that sense. At the same time, it's not finished yet. I still got 2 more tracks that I'm finishing up, and then once I'm done that demo, I'm gonna take it from there. And I have a couple people that I've been talking to send it to, and actually with the guitar scene, they actually really appreciate a more raw production rather than a very like pristine production. So it seems to have worked out in my favor that way, because I'll get a lot of guys emailing me saying like, hey, do you have just a raw non-edited track, because these guys want to see your actual skill level. They don't really care about how clean your song sounds, because they care about how clean you are as a player. That's a really big thing in the guitar world. So a lot of times they actually prefer you to have like raw tracks that aren't even edited. Or like, even for like guitar videos, they'll prefer for you to have like raw camera videos that actually show your real ability, real time ability, not your editing ability. But yeah, back to the Wolf of Transylvania. I am finishing up the demo. I swear it's going to be done in 2018, summer 2018, finally. And there are a couple of tracks if anyone wants to listen to them on YouTube.
Cool. Well, if you're cool with it, we can throw them, or one of them, at the end of this interview.
Sure, man.
Cool.
Sure, man. You bet.
Cool. Do you find it hard to kind of like actually finish a track, to let it go and be like, this is now done?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what? Especially in this genre of music, because you might be done recording your song, but then you'll always get this little thought in your mind, like, what if I can get a better take at this one part? And that really eats away at you, and it eats away at me personally, because when I'm done a song, I need to feel like it is the absolute best that I can do at this point in time. Like, I can't walk away feeling like, oh, you know what, if I did that take again, maybe I could have got it cleaner. I just can't live with that. Like, I can't like sleep, I can't eat when that thought's in my mind. So from that standpoint, that's why this demo is taking forever. It's because I'll often write parts that I can't quite play yet, and I need to sit down and practice them. And then when I sit down and track them, I get like, I kid you not, like 200 takes of the same part, and I start looking through which one do I like the most. I pick up like, the top 3 contenders, and if I'm not happy with those, I keep redoing that take. And as you know, with music, with music recording, your best takes are usually like your first 4 or 5 takes. After that, you start overthinking it, and it's a slippery slope. but you can't stop because you have to get it done. So from that viewpoint, it's been a challenge because I'm a perfectionist, and I always overthink it. Like everyone's like, dude, it sounds really awesome. What's wrong? And I'm always like, yeah, but that one note, you know?
Yeah.
I just if I added a little bit more vibrato, it would be perfect.
Yeah.
And I need to work on that. Like, you know, I shouldn't be so nitpicky. But then again, who knows? Maybe it's for the best.
I think almost everybody who makes music is almost like that, you know, at least 90% of people, because
Right.
you can always see what you could have done better, but when you show it to a fresh pair of ears who has no idea what you can do, and do you know what I mean?
Of course, yeah.
But you always know what you can do and what you are capable of, so you always think you can do better.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really hard to let go of songs for that reason, I think.
I think it has more to do with your own vision of the song, because
Yeah.
you want to follow that, and then when you can't deliver, you're disappointed in yourself.
Yeah.
But for me personally, like you said, it's like it sounds good, like passable, definitely. But for me internally, I need to feel like it's like the best take I could ever do during that moment, you know, because recordings are something that are pretty set in stone. Like, you know, you can't, you know, redo a track that you've like released. So once those takes are in there, they're in there for forever. So you want to make sure they're in there properly.
Yeah.
And a lot of it has to do with preparation, obviously. But then it also has to do with how good you are at recording. I feel like recording music is a totally different art form from
Yeah.
actually performing music.
Definitely. And I feel like it's almost becoming like the actual going to a studio to like do recording. It's almost becoming a lost art form. You know what I mean? Like back in the day, you would set your drums up in a big room and mic them certain ways and stuff to get a certain feel, and like that's why all the, you know, drums in the 80s sound the same, is because they were all recorded the same way, because they came up with this revolutionary recording technique.
Right.
So I feel like that's almost going away a little bit as it becomes more accessible to, like, you know, make bedroom studios or
Of course.
garage studios or whatever that is. Not saying that that's necessarily a bad thing, but
Right. I see what you mean, but then there's also the positive aspect of not having to rely on anyone.
yeah, definitely. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think that this is the best time that we've ever been in for music, for
Of
sure.
course. Hands down.
Yeah.
And I imagine it's only going to get better.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah, well, as technology becomes more affordable and people actually figure out how to use it and they push it and they innovate it, there's nowhere to go but up, I think.
Yeah. And like you said, you know, recording music is so separate from performing music, because rarely do you ever just play your song start to finish, right? It's always going to be chopped up.
Yeah.
You record this part, okay, now you move on, you record this part, and that's, you know, it's really strange because when you're performing music, it's obviously continuous and it has to flow, but you're forced to be a lot more nitpicky when you have that approach of, all right, do this part, now this part, now this part. And I don't mind it, but it's certainly different, man. It's different than just sitting down and performing, and it's something that you know, takes a lot of getting used to, and you need to be super prepared. Like, you know, I always tell the guys when we record, we have to be able to like play this stuff in our sleep. Because we have to just go in there and like first 4 or 5 takes, man. And that's so true. It might sound cliche, but it's so true. I see it every time, whether I'm recording music or even recording the guitar videos I have on my YouTube channel. I always notice this pattern. I sit down, I hit record. My first 2 takes are always my best ones. So that's why I always keep those. And then I go for further takes, but I realize it just starts going more and more downhill. I start playing it faster, or I start playing it a little bit more forced. So that's so true, man. I think it goes for everyone. I think your first 1 or 2 takes when you're coming in fresh are your best ones. After that, it's not gonna go well.
Yeah.
Well, rarely Is it ever gonna go well? And a lot of guys used to tell me that, and I used to be like, whatever, man. That's just superstition.
Yeah.
Like, I never used to believe that. I used to be, if you sit down and you go 1,000 takes, you'll eventually get it. And I learned on my own skin that's not the case, man. You just get more and more frustrated, and that's the big thing about recording music. If you're flustered and you're pissed off about the last take you just had where you flubbed the note, that's gonna affect your current take. And it's just this like snowball effect of frustration.
Yeah.
So what I've learned to do for these new songs is practice the hell out of my parts. And when I sit down, I'm not going to do more than like 4 or 5 takes for each part. Mm-hmm. That's it. Because like I said, those are the best you're going to get. Even for guitar videos, like all of mine that I do, and I'm being honest when I say this, all of those are either my first or second take of just sitting down. Like they're not edited, as you can tell. They're continuous. And I pride myself on that because I always wanted to have this like raw, organic feel in my tracks and in my videos where it's just me playing. Like I don't want anything to be like overproduced or, overdone. And, people can check out my YouTube channel and see it for themselves. And there's nothing, no fancy lights or anything, nothing. It's just pure music. And that's what I've always wanted. And that's what I want going forward is I want to be like just a really pure organic musician where people never have to wonder like, can he actually play that? Because you get that with some guys and it happens where you're actually thinking, can he actually play that? And sometimes it turns out these guys are more so studio musicians than actual real life musicians. I'm talking about guitarists, not talking about any other musicians because that's a different topic. But guitarists, I'm not going to name any names because that wouldn't be good. But there are guys out there that sound way better in the studio than they sound live. Yeah. And that leads to a very disappointed fan base. And that's not good. That's something I would never want. Like if I can't play my parts in front of you right now, sitting across from you, then I'm not going to record it and pass it off as if I can't play. I have too much pride to do that. And I think that's cheating the art form. So I'm all about that. And yeah, if people want to check out my YouTube channel, you'll see it. There's like nothing that's overproduced. It's fairly good quality in my opinion in terms of sound. But yeah, you got to stay organic and you got to stay raw.
So the YouTube channel, did you create that just to showcase kind of what you can do, or did you create it to like teach other people, or what's kind of the motivation behind the YouTube channel?
Well, I made the YouTube channel originally just to, get my name out there, to, make some shred vids, some shred videos. And that's worked. I've actually gotten quite a lot of support and quite a lot of like good feedback. Right now it's still all about that. It's about just getting my stuff out there. So it's the way I view it personally is just my personal music content channel. So it's got some of my tracks that I've recorded on there. It's going to have future tracks. It's got videos where I'm just sitting around improvising or sitting around playing new stuff that I wrote. And I also want to expand on that, like having stuff like this, like just sitting around and discussing music, because to me that's really important. Sometimes you need to just like sit back and reflect on why you're actually playing music, which is why stuff like this helps. And I definitely want to expand on it. I just want it to be a music content channel that's mine. That's all original for the most part. There will be some covers, like some solo covers and whatnot. But for the most part, just me getting my name out there and getting myself out there as a musician.
Okay, cool. I think stuff like that also kind of humanizes the musician. Do you know what I mean? Because I feel like a lot of people can place musicians up on this pedestal and be like, I could never play like that person can because this person is almost godlike to me, or whereas when we do stuff like this, you realize that everybody is just a person, and they started somewhere. They weren't just instantly good at guitar. So I feel like stuff like YouTube and podcasting and stuff like that has done the service of just humanizing a lot of things and being like, if you actually just put in the work, you can actually achieve anything, as cliche as that sounds.
Of course. No, for sure. Yeah, there's no longer this like mystique around anything.
Mm-hmm.
And you can argue that's good and bad. I personally think it's good because, yeah, everyone's human, man. No one's born with, godlike abilities as a musician.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has to work for it, and there are no shortcuts. So everyone has to just, go through the grind. And I'm a believer anyone can achieve like any level in music as long as they put in the work. Some people, yes, are a bit more naturally inclined.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw that firsthand with teaching music. Some kids are just a lot more naturally gifted at it, but they still have to work hard, man. They can still get surpassed by kids who aren't naturally talented at all,
Mm-hmm.
but they put in the work.
Yeah.
So anyone can get it. And yeah, with this whole YouTube thing and social media thing, yeah, everyone can kind of see the more human side of musicians, which is good because it helps to see, hey, this guy goes through the same struggles as I do as a musician, whether it's practice or whatnot. And of course it helps, that's one of the things about humans is when you're not alone, that's really helpful
Mm-hmm.
in a lot of cases for even stuff outside of music. But with music specifically, yeah, it can be really discouraging, man, especially as a guitarist. When you first get into it, it could be really discouraging because you see all these like phenomenal players, like, and even from my standpoint, when I got into it, I was like, damn, these guys are like amazing, like just phenomenal players. They look like they make it look so easy.
Yeah.
And it can definitely be intimidating, but you just have to realize that everyone's been there, man. I've been there where I thought I would like never be able to do that, or I thought that, man, that's gonna take me like aeons of practice. But as long as you put in the work, man, you'll amaze yourself. And I know a lot of really good guitarists who are in the same boat, and we would get together and fanboy about like, man, this guy's so good. How are we gonna get that good? So yeah, everyone goes through, man, and everyone works their way up. You just have to not get discouraged. That's the most important part. You just have to believe in yourself, and you have to push forward, because there are times when you feel like you're not progressing at all, and you get really flustered, and you're close to just saying like, screw it. But those are like the most crucial times, because you might not feel as if you're progressing. You might not perceive it that way, but you actually are.
Yeah. Just the fact that you continue on is progress in itself,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And also, when you don't feel like you're progressing, that's when you're trying to burst through your plateau a lot of times as a musician. So that's like the most crucial time. But a lot of people think it should be this linear progression of like, hey, last year I was able to play this, so this year I should be able to play this. But that's not how it works.
Yeah.
Music isn't linear. Like, you'll have ups and downs. Like, there are some months where I feel like I'm not really as good as I was last month. And everyone goes through that. It's, it's ups and downs. It's never going to be linear. And that holds a lot of people back, especially new people who are picking up instruments. They feel like it should be this progression of like never-ending linearity where they reach the top, but that's not how it goes at all. It's the complete opposite. It's like exponential at times, and then other times it's just down, you dip, and then you go back up. It's all over the place, man.
Yeah. And I think that's with any creative discipline too, whether it be painting or drawing or whatever it may be. I think that's an important kind of message to get out there, is it's not just this linear progression. Sometimes it is going to be kind of like riding a wave, basically.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
And I mean, as long as you put in the work, you'll always be in the plus in regards to your progress.
Yeah.
So it just comes down to honestly just not letting anything phase you, man. You have to have that strong belief and that confidence that you're just gonna break through no matter what.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. And my most successful students, and that's how I used to be as well, as I never really let stuff phase me. I mean, I used to be like, damn, that's fucking impressive. But I used to just push forward anyways. You have to be really ambitious and go for it. And those are the best students I've had also. The students who don't really give a shit. Kind of like me.
Yeah.
Like yes, you'll impress me, but you won't intimidate me. That's kind of my deal. And that's what I try to teach my students as well, is to just not get intimidated by anyone in music. Like, sure, he might be like 10 times the player you are today, but if you put in the work, you can catch up. So you also need a strong mental aspect in that regard, especially for guitar, because guitar is so ego driven and there are so many egos, and there are also a lot of insecurities that come with that. With a lot of guys, man, I see it a lot in the guitar scene. A lot of jealousy, a lot of, fragile egos. And I have my fun with that a lot of the time because I kind of used to be like that.
Yeah.
But I wised up, and it's pretty funny to still see it happening today. But the reality of the guitar scene is that overall it's really good. There are a few bad apples, but overall it's amazing. Like I have nothing but good things to say about like the online guitar community, especially like our guitar on Reddit. Like those guys are awesome, man. Like they actually give you constructive criticism. I've never in my life had actual constructive criticism with guitar where they actually analyze my technique. Because, you get, like, the awesome support where people tell you, like, it sounds great and this is awesome. And I love that. Yeah. That's also amazing.
Yeah.
But when you get a guy actually being like, hey, Andrei, I noticed you slant your pick this way when you sweep on a certain sweep 14 measures in. It gets you thinking, like, wow, this guy, like...
He's, like, actually, really paying attention,
exactly. And... that's only happened to me on the Reddit forums on our guitar, and that community, I gotta say, is probably like the best online music community for that. Like they're willing to help you out, and I honestly want to give back to that community more because they helped me out. A lot of those guys like just encouraged me and helped me out, and it's made me a better musician because now I'm aware of what that guy said online about me, and now I implement that in my playing.
Yeah.
That being said, though, all feedback is awesome, whether it's just positive feedback or whatever. That's also great. But our guitar community, man, let me tell you, like, I honestly wish I knew about that sooner so I could contribute more. And now I'm one of those guys also helping other guys out on there where I'm actually listening to their stuff. Yeah. And I feel like it's this perpetuating thing where if you have a good community, everyone wants to contribute.
Yeah. Well, like, that's the thing. Like, that's, like, the whole point of this entire podcast and even the website is to build community, you know, to build a community that isn't afraid to, like, help each other out and, you know, like, just to connect people.
Right.
Because, like, yeah, positive feedback's really awesome and stuff, and it does make you feel good, but sometimes you crave that, like, constructive criticism, you know? Sometimes you're like, this is, like, all right, but I feel like it could be better, so I want somebody to tell me, like, where I could be improving, because I feel like that's a thing that anybody who wants to get better at their craft is kind of seeking out.
Right. I mean, the positive feedback, and, you know, I provide a lot where you're just, you know, you're saying it sounds great. The encouragement is awesome.
Yeah, encouragement is great.
Absolutely awesome. And I feel like people should be doing that more to everyone. You know, you should be encouraging everyone, even outside of music, even just from a pure, like, human standpoint. Um, but the constructive criticism, I feel like that's, to me anyways, that's like what it's really all about. Because a lot of times you're putting your stuff out there. Yes, you want the encouragement, but you're I feel like subconsciously you're putting your stuff out there because you want someone to, you know, give you some pointers and to show you, hey, you could be doing this better.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you want to become a better musician, right? And you want to understand the art form better than you did a week ago.
Yeah.
And the best way to do that is to have someone else, a different set of eyes and ears, tell you, hey, I think this could be done better, or I think this could be done differently.
Mm-hmm.
So that's you know, I need that also, but the encouragement is also really important.
Yeah.
Or discouragement, whatever. You know, haters, that's also important.
Yeah,
You need all the elements.
Yeah, definitely, because like the haters, you know, they keep your ego in check a little bit.
Yeah, you could view it that way.
Yeah.
You need the haters, you know, man. You need all of it. To me, there's like no negative aspect of music.
Yeah.
You know, you need people encouraging you. You know, you need the kind words. You need people telling you suck. You know, you need guys telling you can do better. To me, it's all part of the experience, and it's all good. You know, you can't just have people like tell you how awesome you are.
No.
As good as that is, that's not really gonna make you a better musician at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And yeah, just to me, it's like the online community for music is perfect.
Yeah. And that's the thing I feel like with the advent of, you know, the internet and stuff, it has kind of, you know, maybe brought some music communities that maybe were a little bit more isolationist in the past kind of into the forefront and connected people in a way that wouldn't have been possible without the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. I haven't really thought much about that. But yeah, I guess online now, you can kind of step outside of your scene, whether it's just like the guitar scene or the metal scene,
Mm-hmm.
and you're more exposed to other scenes. Whereas before the internet, you would actually have to go out of your way to like local shows.
Yeah.
Like if you were like a hardcore punk guy, you would mostly be hanging out with your crew going punk shows.
Yeah.
But then you have to go out of your way to go to rock shows or metal shows.
Yeah.
So
Or like a hip hop show or something.
it wouldn't be
like-
as accessible.
Yeah.
And who knows, you might not even be that welcomed.
Yeah.
Since
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
a lot more intimate in person. Who knows?
Yeah.
But now, you know, I guess everyone's welcome because on the internet, everyone's anonymous.
Yeah.
So everyone's welcome to watch a YouTube video of a genre they have no connection to. And
Yeah.
that's how it should be. You know,
Yeah.
you shouldn't need to have all these like allegiances in music,
Yeah.
which sadly still happens to this day.
Yeah. I feel like it happens less than ever though now.
Yeah.
Like more people nowadays, you never find people who are like, I'm just a metal. Well, like you do, but you find less people who are like, I'm just a metalhead
To a
or I
lesser
just
degree, of
listen to
course.
hip hop. I feel like a lot of people nowadays, when you ask them about their favorite music, it's a wide variety. It's like, actually, I like everything, but I'm not a fan of this specific genre or something like that.
Yeah.
So,
Of course. I mean, everyone's got their favorites, but everyone likes to dabble, man.
yeah.
I mean, you wouldn't have discovered your favorite genre if you didn't dabble.
Yeah.
And gave it a shot, you know. You wouldn't have discovered your favorite band if you didn't give it a shot and click on that link or whatever, pop in the CD.
Mhm.
So, of course, you have to be open-minded and you have to give everything a fair chance. You know, I'm not the best example for that because I didn't used to be like that, but
Yeah.
that's definitely the right way to go about it with music, man.
Yeah.
You need to be open-minded, and again, it's all about the art form, man. It doesn't matter like how popular you are or what other people think or any of that. Music is something that goes beyond humanity, you know. Music is really probably the purest thing in this world because it's just vibrations. It's what everything operates on, right? It's just vibrations. You know, you got music throughout the universe because there are vibrations everywhere. So it goes beyond us, man. That's why even when you write a song and you copyright it, you're not copyrighting those vibrations, man. They don't belong to you. None of your music that you wrote truly belongs to you.
Yeah.
Sure, you've arranged it. You've like made this nice little puzzle out of the vibrations you chose yourself.
Yeah.
But it's not truly yours, man. It doesn't belong to anyone.
Yeah.
And that's what's awesome about music, is doesn't matter who you are, what skin color, whatever. Everyone has access to it.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we all have a voice. We can all vocally, you know, project these vibrations, and we can, I don't mean to get super deep into this, but at our essence, we're just vibrations, man. So, that being said, you know, I forget what the original question was.
Yeah.
But the best thing is just be yourself, man. Just focus on the art form. It doesn't matter if you have like 10 million fans or like 10 fans. Just keep going with it. There's nobody, it's not a competition. Nobody's like keeping score in music. And if they are, they're not in it for the right reasons.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So, do you kind of have like a specific CD, like maybe from your childhood or something, where you listen to it and it kind of sets you off along the path of your musical journey? Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. That's okay. That's a really difficult question. In all honesty, man, it wasn't so much CDs, because when I got into music, it was when LimeWire was getting big.
Okay.
So I was mostly downloading like a bunch of singles, right? It wasn't really CDs. So I mostly have to attribute like artists rather than albums themselves.
Yeah.
I have to say, like, guys like Ozzy Osbourne, like early Ozzy with Randy Rhoads, yeah, that stuff like really, really fucking made me want to play guitar.
Yeah.
Also early Led Zeppelin,
Mm-hmm.
that stuff also. Again, I can't really name albums, because I have to say, like, their whole discography overall has just like impacted me.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, Ozzy, Led Zeppelin, the classic rock stuff,
Yeah.
for the most part. And then I got into more metal stuff like Yngwie Malmsteen and Jason Becker and stuff like that. And actually, that stuff also, man, it just pushed me. It's like, yeah, this is what I want to do. I want to be like an instrumental guitarist.
Mm-hmm.
And those guys heavily influenced me. In terms of an album, though, I can't really pinpoint one.
Mm-hmm.
It's more so to do with artists, and it's a lot of artists, man. I can't just name one. Although, if you force me to name just one artist that like had the biggest impact on me, like out of all the guys, I gotta go with Buckethead. And Buckethead has like over 200 albums released.
Shit.
No joke. So
that's crazy. I didn't know that.
yeah. I actually think was it Guitar Hero 3? He had, what was the song? It was Soothsayer.
Yeah.
And Guitar Hero 3. I don't know if you played that.
I played that, yeah.
Okay. That was honestly my introduction to Buckethead. I was at my buddy's house, and he was also a guitarist, and we were playing Guitar Hero 3. And then we started playing Soothsayer, and I didn't know what it was at the time, but I was like, this song is amazing. What is this? It's so melodic, and it's so like, you could just feel the guy's passion, because the song was dedicated to his late aunt,
Mm-hmm.
who passed away. And you could just like feel the passion in his playing when he's like hitting the strings. Like, I just knew it just felt powerful as hell. Just playing it on Guitar Hero, I was like, damn, I gotta go home and like listen to this guy more. And I just fell in love with Buckethead. He's like, to me, he's like the epitome of everything I've talked about so far this podcast. He's probably like the realest musician in my eyes. He does everything properly, you know. He doesn't care about his fame at all. The guy doesn't even have a cell phone. Like, no one really knows how to get a hold of him. He just literally lives and breathes music. He left Guns N' Roses because, well, from what I hear anyway, he didn't feel like he was being true to himself. And, he could have just sold out, rode that wave, stayed in Guns N' Roses, made millions of dollars. But the guy stayed true to himself. I have nothing but respect for Buckethead. There's even a video on my YouTube channel that's dedicated to Buckethead recently. And it has to do with his recent health problems because, man, that guy has been my biggest influence, hands down. His everything, not just his playing, man, the way he approaches music, his humble demeanor with everything, and his history, and also he's got the mystique, right? Because he wears a mask, so no one truly knows what he looks like, and that's quite the accomplishment in today's world, right?
Yeah, definitely. With everybody having a phone or a camera on them, like.
But yeah, if people haven't listened to Buckethead, everyone should. He is phenomenal, man. The guy, he's so good at just expressing himself on the guitar. Like, you can just feel his passion or his sorrow, everything. There was even another song about his late father or mother. I think it was his father. And man, it's a 30-minute song, but oh my god, it's this like emotional journey. And especially as a guitarist, like, you could just like feel it, man. Oh, I could talk about Buckethead forever. I love Buckethead.
Like, that's a fucking, like, that's a musician right there making a 30-minute song. Like,
yeah. Honestly, I need to see Buckethead live. That's why I was really sad when I found out he had health problems.
Yeah.
And I made that video, shredding for Buckethead, and it got a lot of positive feedback to it. Like, it was like one of the top things on our guitar. I wasn't expecting it. I was just like, hey guys, here's me showing some love to Buckethead. But man, I need to see that guy live. To me, like, he's a legend. And actually, I listened to one of his interviews. I think it was also a podcast, and he was talking about how he actually felt like he was cowardly in his musical journey. Like, he feels like he could have accomplished a lot more. Mm-hmm. And that really like struck me. Like, what do you mean, man? You're like one of the most legendary guitarists of all time. Like, the guy has a huge cult following. Like, he's got everything, but it kind of makes you realize that, perspective is everything. Like, he feels like he could have got more done, and he almost feels regretful, which is crazy to think. Buckethead, man, that's like the dream for every guitarist, to get anywhere close to that level of musicianship or notoriety. And he, even that guy, he still feels like he could have done more.
Yeah.
And it's actually a good interview. I don't know where you can find it specifically, to be honest, but any Buckethead fans, you got to listen to the man speak, because he rarely speaks. First of all, but just to hear his insight about how he feels, it's interesting, man. And he's such a good guy. Like, you can just tell from hearing him speak, he's a really like kind soul, and he just wants to play music, man. That's all he wants to. It's awesome.
Nice. So I've always kind of been curious about this, but since you are a guitar player, like, how like legit is Guitar Hero, like, compared to playing real guitar?
Well, this may come as a surprise, but not very legit.
Yeah, I kind of figured, but I just wanted,
You know what, though? I gotta say, it's a great introduction to the instrument, though, and to the world of guitar. It gets a lot of hate from guitarists for being like, like a child's toy of a guitar. It's a mockery, whatever. But I don't see it that way. I see it as a way for like younger people who didn't grow up in a generation where, like, the 80s, where rock and metal were like, the mainstream thing. Mm-hmm. Especially for younger kids these days, to just get exposed to that older music through Guitar Hero in a fun manner like that. Mm-hmm. I think that's great. So I'm a supporter of the game in that sense, to introduce people. Hell, it introduced me to Buckethead. Right?
Yeah.
Who knows if I would have heard about him? It introduced me to a lot of bands like Lamb of God.
Yeah.
Because that was in Guitar Hero as well.
I think it's like Guitar Hero too.
Yeah, exactly. So I actually think it's great, man. It's getting a lot of new eyes and ears on those bands' content
Yeah,
and music.
it definitely exposed me to a lot of music that I wouldn't have listened to.
Exactly. And yeah, obviously you don't want to start building your guitar skills off of that game.
Yeah.
But
Even if it just piques your interest, though, it's done something positive, right?
exactly. No, for sure.
Yeah.
I think the game is great. I hope it continues to become successful because then, that means more musicians for the future, man.
Mm-hmm.
More, some of those kids are bound to pick up a real guitar and then go and play.
Like,
But
the amount of people I know who are just inspired from, like, say, Rock Band, like drumming,
That's
doing
true.
the drums on Rock Band.
That's
There's
true.
like at least 3 drummers I know who are like, yeah, I started on Rock Band.
Nothing wrong with that, man.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I know a lot of guitarists like that as well. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that. To me, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And that's greater. I mean, that's better for the bigger picture.
Mm-hmm. Have you heard of Rocksmith? It's the one
Yeah.
where you actually like hook up an actual guitar to the computer
I
and
have,
stuff.
yeah. I've never played it.
Yeah.
I've heard about it. From what I hear, it's decent,
Yeah.
but I haven't experienced it firsthand.
Yeah. I guess it's just the next evolution of Guitar Hero and Rock Band and stuff like that, where
Right.
it'll actually
That's
instead of
good,
playing,
man.
instead of playing with like a toy now, you have an actual guitar in your hand.
That's
and,
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. It's making the instrument more accessible to people because it can be fairly inaccessible at first. There's so much gear you need and so much you need to know.
Mm-hmm.
But it's becoming more and more accessible, man. Like I currently, for my gear, I don't even have an amp. I literally have an iPad app that I play through,
Yeah.
and it sounds great. I don't know if you've heard of Bias Effects.
No.
It's this digital amp modeler, and it's for PC and for Apple devices. And you can literally get a sound card, run your iPad through it, and then from your sound card go into your amp cab, so essentially your speaker.
Yeah.
And that could be your setup nowadays.
Yeah.
So you're literally running your iPad as like your main amp processor, which is amazing, man. And it only costs like $30.
Yeah.
If you want the other amps and stuff, you pay like an extra 20 or whatever. So
Yeah.
like $50 in total. So to me, that's great. Technology is becoming way more accessible for guitarists, and I like to toy around with everything, man. I'm not one of those old school guys that's like, you need like your Strat and your old school, Vox Deluxe amps.
Yeah.
I'm always open to experimenting, man. And the new technology is great, I gotta say, especially Bias FX. It sounds great.
Mm-hmm.
I have no complaints about it. It's so portable too. It's literally just your iPad. You could go anywhere, and the interface is awesome, and it's cheap. It's like amazing, man.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you don't plan to use that as your main rig, it's still nice to have as like a little practice rig.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I feel like a lot of the hardware with technology nowadays is being replaced by software. Like, and you can do just as much stuff or even more for like a fraction of the cost, which is great because like not everybody has, like we were talking about earlier, not everybody has the opportunity to spend all of this money on
True.
music. So to make products that give you that professional sound, but for a fraction of the cost, is only going to push the whole thing forward.
Yeah.
I feel.
Yeah, it's just gonna get more people on board if it's accessible, right?
Yeah.
More people will pick up the guitar, and that just benefits the guitar community, right? The larger it grows, the better it is. And so I don't see why people are against that, but some people are.
Yeah.
And I don't get it, man. I don't know why you wouldn't want your community to grow and why you wouldn't want it to be accessible.
I think it's because they've put in so much time learning the hard way to do it, quote unquote. It's kind of the same with vinyl DJs or CDJs. They hate on computer DJs nowadays, like fully digital DJs, because it's easier technically. There's software and there's stuff built in that makes it slightly easier. So I think that they're just hating because they had to put in all this work. And then they see some kid come with this program being like, oh, look what I can do with all this stuff. And it's just, I imagine that could be frustrating for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak about that from a DJ standpoint.
Yeah.
From a guitar standpoint, though, I mean, you're still putting in the work playing guitar.
Yeah.
No one can take that away from you. In terms of your gear, like, I don't see why that matters. Like, why you having analog gear compared to digital.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I get it. People like to have the actual thing and they like the warmth of the tubes in the amp and stuff like that. But, I don't think that kind of gives you the right to hate on the digital guys. Digital guys might like it because you have more options available to you and it's more portable. Everyone's got their own preferences.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a lot of like that similar salt.
Yeah.
In terms of the old school guys thinking that like the new school guys are getting babied.
Yeah.
And with guitar, it's not really true because these guys are still putting in the work, practicing and getting good at actual guitar.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't just. There's no technology that's just gonna make you good at guitar.
Yeah. Like I said, that just goes for the guitar scene. I don't know about other scenes. It could be different.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't think anything gives you the right to, put other people down and say like, I'm more legit than you because I did it this way. I mean, that's good, respect for doing that, but I don't think that, I don't think that's an excuse to just hate on others.
No. And there's no technology that is ever going to be able to replace like natural musicality from a person, you know what I mean? Like you see it when you produce drums on the computer. If you just do a drum beat and it's completely synced to the beat grid, it sounds boring and robotic and not very fun at all. So like you can't replace that musicality, like that human element in music.
Right.
Yeah.
Of course, you can't, you can't replace good songwriting either.
Yeah.
It's another skill you have to work on.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless, man, whether you did it the super hard way and got your hands dirty or whether you were fortunate to be born in this generation where you have more technology, you shouldn't be judging or hating. It is what it is, man. Like, your ancestors who, didn't have internet and cell phones, they're not hating on you, like being like, man,
Yeah.
these kids and their cell phones, like I'm obviously better than them because I grew up without one. I mean, you do get some of those guys, but
Yeah.
it makes no sense, because you could take that throughout history, like even before the wheel was invented. Like, technology's great, man. We should be embracing it.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think you should be, hating on people just because they're younger and they were born with more technology to their disposal.
Yeah.
It gives you no right, they had no say in it. No one has any say when they're born,
Yeah.
like their circumstances. So, regardless of whatever it is, no one has the right to do that.
I think it's just been a thing that happens forever. The olds, they get bitter about being old and they see the kids coming up and they're like, those darn kids,
I think the way they feel is that they like put in more effort
Yeah.
than you did. For example, if you were like just like using all this new technology to your disposal and I'm an old school DJ who did it the hard way,
Yeah.
I think they feel like they put in more effort.
Yeah.
But that still doesn't justify it, man. Like,
No.
yes, you did put in more effort. That is true. You can't debate that. But you're also living in different circumstances. You're living in a different time. I mean, like, way back when, soldiers put in more effort with their swords and shields physically rather than, pointing their AKs, right? It's just different points in time. No one's better than anyone for that. Yes, they put in more effort, but that has no correlation or no connection with the current generation. Like, it just, to me, it makes no sense why there's this hate, like you're saying, between like the old school and the new school. It just makes zero sense to me, regardless of the genre. I mean, good for you. Yes, you put in more effort, but that doesn't justify you being a shitty human being. Like, nothing does, right? So
I think what it boils down to too is just everybody people don't like change, you know? No matter, like, most people don't like change.
True.
In every aspect of their life. Change is always scary or uncomfortable, and it's not the safe path, you know what I mean?
Right. I agree, and they also feel like everyone should be paying their dues.
Yeah.
It's this old school mentality, like, I went through this,
Yeah, you got
so
it.
you should also go through
Yeah.
this, which is a bit unrealistic because life doesn't work that way.
Mhm.
You know, life doesn't keep score, or like, you know, in nature, just because, you know, a tiger had to like hunt down a deer for like 20 miles doesn't mean that the lion who pounced on it faster,
Yeah.
is, you know, deserves the hate. You know, it's like, I get it, people can feel a little hard done by that, they put in more effort, but, you know, no one's at fault. It's
No.
just the times, man. It's
Yeah.
I don't get it. It baffles me because I see it even outside of music. I see it a lot of times, like, man, like, you know, I went through this and I suffered so much, and these guys aren't going through it. And I mean, I don't get that.
Yeah,
I fail to see it. Like, I also, like, I've with guitar, like, you know, I've also kind of did it the hard way. And, you know, I see kids these days doing it with a more efficient technological way in terms of accessing guitar tabs or song files and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I don't hate on them. I mean, I just view them as luckier than me, but that's no reason to hate them. It's like,
Yeah.
damn, that's good for them. But then I realize I'm luckier than the previous generation because I actually had access to internet to get the tabs.
Yeah.
So, you know, everyone kind of got luckier than the last guy in
the
terms of
last
technology.
than the last generation, because there was a point where you had to, you know, you don't have guitar tuners or whatever it may be, or you don't
Right.
have amps and stuff like that.
Right.
Like the generation after is always going to be more
Yeah.
technologically
That's just
advanced. That's
natural.
evolution. Yeah.
Exactly. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
You can't hate on it.
Yeah. It's just
I-
a natural
I just-
thing that happens.
I fail to see it, but sadly it's pretty prevalent, and I think it's mostly just salty people, man.
Yeah.
And, you know, you can't really, there's no cure for salt.
No, definitely not.
You know, salt is, you know, it's something you have to deal with yourself
Yeah.
internally.
Yeah. And honestly, why these people are probably complaining is because they do have some sort of insecure thing about themselves, you know? That's probably why they're bringing it up, because they see these people being better than them and being like, well, you know, I'm better because I went through my dues, or I paid my dues, you know? So that's why I'm better. So it's probably more of like a justifying to themselves why they're better. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I see, yeah, they're kind of trying to make themselves feel better,
yeah.
but no, whatever. I can't get into the mind of that type
No,
of stuff.
no.
It's I mean, if you're that type of person, that's pretty unfortunate.
Yeah.
If you feel like you have to
Tear other people down to
justify-
like bring yourself up.
Yeah, that's a really poor quality, and I mean, that's unfortunate. I feel sorry for those people that are like that. They do exist. I'm well
Oh, yeah.
aware
Oh, yeah.
of their existence, and you know, I don't have much to say to them, man. Whatever, it's
They're gonna do them. You're gonna do
you
you.
do what you gotta do. You know, I don't think jealousy is very productive at all in any music scene. I see no reason for it, man. If you do see someone that's better than you, I think the healthiest way to go about it is to admit they're better than you and work on improving yourself to reach their level or surpass them. I mean, there's no shame in that, man. It's how improving is done. You have to admit to yourself. You have to be honest with yourself. You can't start lying to yourself and being like, oh no, but that guy like had it the easy way.
Yeah.
To me, that's very unhealthy. That's not how progress is done.
Yeah, definitely. And you have to be willing to even learn from those people. Be like,
Yeah.
you know,
You
like,
have to be humble, man.
Yeah.
There's no way you could just like live in your own little world where you're the best musician around and everyone else either just got lucky or whatever.
yeah,
Then you're just living in a fantasy world, man. The reality is there are likely guys out there better than you, no matter how good you are, and everyone realizes that. including like the world's best guitarists. They all realize that, and that reality is actually what keeps them and also keeps me improving, is knowing that there's probably someone out there better than me or that's working harder than me.
Mm-hmm.
And in order for me to keep up with that, I should work harder myself and practice harder myself. So just, to those salty haters, salty people, just channel that energy. Honestly, just channel that energy into getting better. I swear. It'll be way more productive and you'll be healthier and happier in the long run.
Yeah.
I promise you.
Do you feel that maybe music has kind of helped with your overall happiness in life?
Yeah. You know what? As like a spiritual tool, it's been amazing because I'll often go into like these trances while playing music where it's like extreme focus and just like complete immersement into what I'm doing. And it's like a form of meditation in a sense. You're just so in the moment. You're just so into it, man. And it boosts everything. It boosts your happiness, your morale, your confidence. Like, you just feel amazing. I can't explain it.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of guitarists will probably know what I'm talking about. And a lot of musicians, but I'm purely talking about it from a guitar standpoint because it's the only instrument I play seriously.
Yeah.
But you do go into these trances, man, and I can't put any words to it. It feels amazing. It's like pure euphoria.
Mm-hmm.
And it's real, man.
Yeah.
It's very real. And
Yeah,
when
definitely.
you're in it, you know you're in it.
Yeah.
Like, as opposed to your everyday life, when you get in that zone, you know you're in it.
Yeah.
You're like, whoa. And your senses are like heightened. Like, you're just, I can't put words to it. And it feels amazing. But anyways, when you get in those states a lot, it definitely boosts, man. It boosts all your positive traits. Like I said, your confidence, your morale, your everything just feels good. You feel more compassionate. You just feel awake. You feel more aware. You feel just everything's boosted, man. There's no downsides to it. It's like this holy effect on you. So definitely, man, it's helped with a lot. But at the same time, I feel like you can't purely rely on music to deal with all that stuff. You also need to be working on your skill, your spirituality and whatnot outside of music. But yes, music helps a ton, like as a meditation tool or any of that stuff. Like, I personally don't meditate. I'm not into any of that stuff. But if you need something to like boost you getting into that super calm zone where you're literally like, you're not even thinking about anything, man. You're just experiencing the music you're playing. It's unreal.
You're 100% like present in the moment.
Exactly.
You're not thinking about the past. You're not thinking about the future. You're
exactly.
in the moment.
It might
entirely.
sound super cliche and like,
I mean,
all that
cliches
stuff.
are cliche for a reason, though, right?
But
because
it's so true, man. It's one of the best feelings ever. Like, no matter what's going on, once you start playing guitar and you get in like that zone, it's unreal. It's unreal, man. I have nothing but like positive things to say about that aspect, the spiritual aspect of guitar playing and music in general. Amazing.
Are you ever like, when you are in that zone, are you ever like surprised at what comes out? So are you like, you're so in the zone that you're like, where did that even come from?
Yeah, you're almost like surprised. You almost become like a different person in a way, because in your everyday life you are who you are. You go to school or to work or whatever, but when you get in that zone, it's as if you just become like a superhuman, man. And it's completely natural is the best part, but you just feel like you're super in the present. You feel like everything's boosted. You feel stronger physically also. It's out of this world, man. You definitely feel it though, and it's nothing but positivity.
Definitely. And like the important thing to mention too is you can get into that zone through other aspects too. You can get into that same zone through drawing, or through
No, of course.
through any creative outlet, or even just having a conversation. Like, you can
Yeah.
get into, it's
Yeah.
it's what almost makes life like worth it. Do you know what I mean? Is those moments of like complete clarity where you are like 100% present.
Yeah,
I think we all strive for that.
of course. I feel like you just become like a higher self, man, like the best version of yourself when you do that. And yeah, that can be surprising and to some people scary. I personally love that stuff, man.
Yeah.
The spooky unknown stuff, I'm all about that. That stuff is great to me. But yeah, like, again, I'm primarily a guitarist, so I can only speak from my experiences. I imagine, yeah, drawing, painting, all that stuff probably offers the same effect. I can't speak for it because I don't really do that, right? So, but yeah, it honestly, playing music and whatnot, it's so extremely rewarding. I think everyone should be doing it, and I think it should be emphasized more in everything, in the education system and whatnot. It's pretty sad that, music and the arts are the first to get cut when it comes to budgets, because I think they're like the most important elements to life. I mean, yes, math and science are also extremely vital, and as an engineering student, I can appreciate that, but you also need the other side, man. You need it. You can't just have like a world full of engineers and scientists. Granted, I'm kind of an engineer and a musician, I'm like this weird hybrid now, but anyways, you need to have that like spiritual side to it that complements the other stuff.
Yeah.
Because even math in general is actually, it's pretty deep, man. Because you start seeing it everywhere. The higher levels of math you get, you start seeing it in nature and like everywhere, and it's almost like music. It's like, man, this thing is all around us. It's kind of like how vibrations are all around us. Math is also all around us. Math is also beautiful. Like, I know a lot of people will disagree, but math is also like such a beautiful tool that humans have grasped. And I think in a lot of ways there's parallels between sciences and music, and there's beauty in both of them, but everything, in my opinion, is connected. So we need a healthy balance of everything. You need your math. You definitely need to be well educated in your math and sciences, but you also need the other aspect, man. You need the music. It ties together, because once you start to learn the mathematics behind the sound waves, you start seeing how it all connects, and you're like, holy shit, this all connects, because all these sound waves can be analyzed mathematically, and you start seeing the whys and the hows and the reason behind resonance and stuff like that, and it's honestly beautiful. I don't want to get into technical aspects because like I swear if like a professor of mine is listening to this, I'm gonna get in a lot of trouble, so I don't want to risk that. I don't want to risk giving some false information regarding mechanical vibrations, because I might get like crucified. But let me tell you, man, I did recently have a course in mechanical vibrations, and it's just vibrations, kind of like music. When you start seeing the sound waves, you start seeing your sine and cosine waves, and you start learning the hows and the whys, and you start applying the formulas, man. Once it starts tying together like that, you realize like, holy shit, like there is no like this huge like separation wall, like your math and sciences and then your arts. They're all connected, man. They're all interconnected. They all have something to do with one another.
Everything is like somewhat connected.
Right.
I think it even goes like what you were talking about, kind of goes back to the idea of like the Renaissance man, somebody who was good at science and math, but then also had these, other interests like music and astrology or shit like that. Just being a well-rounded human being, we need to understand the universe, but we also need those creative outlets that, create beauty.
Right. No, exactly. I mean, you can try and get creative with math if you really want to,
Yeah.
also. But yes, the arts are more meant for creativity in that sense.
Yeah.
It just it once you start seeing it all tie together, man, you start realizing the importance of everything.
And like essentially everything in this universe can like be boiled down to math. Can be
Right.
boiled down to some sort of equation,
Right.
or it can be expressed through math, you know? So
Mm-hmm.
math is
I have
pretty rad.
yes, I have I have a great deal of respect for math, and like as an engineering student, I'm also forced to say that, but
Yeah.
I also mean it. I also mean it. Like math is, it's just, it might sound cliche, but yeah, math is just wonderful, man. The amount of like stuff it's contributed to our progress, and just the ability to analyze everything around you using math, using trigonometry, geometry, calculus, all that stuff. It's great. You can start seeing the beauty of everything around you once you start doing that.
Yeah, and like even just how, say, almost impossible it is for something like a leaf to form or the human eye to form, and how amazing that even exists, you know?
Of course. I mean, it doesn't really matter what your beliefs are in terms of, creation or whatnot. You still have to admire the beauty of it. Well, no matter what you believe, whether, you're a super, fundamental Christian or whatnot, doesn't really matter. Everyone should appreciate the beauty of
Definitely.
what's around you.
Yeah.
And to me, analyzing the beauty is also part of it, because you learn how beautiful it is more so once you start seeing the inner workings.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because it just becomes, it like takes it, say, instead of now you're just looking at a leaf, if you look deeper into the leaf, you see all the cells that make up the leaf and how
all the
workings and all the patterns, and yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, life is cool.
Math is cool. Math and music. Math and music.
Math and music.
Yep.
Cool. So since you are a guitar teacher and stuff, what kind of advice would you maybe give to somebody who is just getting started in music and they want to progress into with it?
Well, like I said earlier, just don't get discouraged. Just push forward, and you have to also accept the fact, and this also goes for, I guess, everyone, not just newcomers to music. You have to accept the fact that music doesn't owe you anything. So, there are times when you feel like you should be garnering a certain amount of success or whatnot, and that's just not how it works. Or you feel like you've practiced for 2 hours, but you're still not getting it. Again, music doesn't owe you anything. So just stay the course. Just don't get discouraged, and just practice a lot. I tell all my students, just don't get intimidated, and actually sit down and have quality practice. So, no phone, nothing. Like we talked about, just sit down with the guitar and get in the zone. That's where you're going to get your most practice, your best practice, the most out of it. When you sit down and all you're doing, you're fully immersed, right? You're seeing the notes, you're hearing the notes, you're feeling the notes. You're not tasting them, hopefully, but you're immersed in it. That's important. That's when you get your most quality practice done, is when you're just playing guitar. Because if you have your phone out and stuff, you're not gonna be as effective. But yeah, overall, and this is really challenging with young people, right? Because like kids and stuff, they always need encouragement. So, just telling a kid don't get discouraged is easier said than done.
Yeah.
You have to constantly, pump their tires and encourage them. But the biggest thing overall is, believe in yourself. Don't get discouraged. Because there are times when you will be tested, where your will be tested, where you feel like you're not progressing and that like everyone's better than you and everything you play sounds like crap. there will be those times.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to weather the storm and keep pushing forward.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that's great advice.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess, is there any kind of final things you want to say or throw out there?
Yes. Check out my YouTube channel, The Wolf of Transylvania. Check out my Facebook. Smash that sub button. Smash that like button. I'm just kidding.
But not really.
And yeah, stay tuned, man. It's just getting started. Like I'll be finishing the Wolf of Transylvania demo this summer. So it'll be 4 songs. 2 of them are already up on YouTube if people want to listen to them. And also my super secret band will be revealed soon.
Revealed soon.
So 2018, man, is going to be exciting.
It's going to be a big year.
Yeah. I'm also going to be graduating. It's going to be like, it's going to be crazy, man.
Yeah.
It's going to be great. I don't know if it's just me, but I'm like really stoked for 2018.
Yeah, I'm pretty stoked for 2018 too.
So, people that want to come along for the ride, it's going to be great. And yeah, also 2017 has been great. I got to thank everyone, our guitar community, everyone who, likes my stuff and supports me and gives me great feedback is awesome. 2017's probably been like my best year musically in terms of creativity and my musical drive and what I've accomplished. It's probably been my best year. I gotta say, it's been great, and I hope 2018, lives up to 2017's hype. And yeah, just gotta thank everyone, man. Like, we talked about it, without the right circumstances, like none of us would be able to play music. So you got to thank everyone, your parents and everyone that supports you and gives you kind words to keep you going. Because that's the real stuff, man. All the other stuff doesn't really matter if you don't have, the support and the human compassion around you, then it's going to be really rough.
Yeah, definitely. Cool, man. Well, thank you very much for being on the podcast.
No worries. My pleasure.
If you liked this episode of the podcast, why not leave a review? You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play. For up-to-date information on the podcast, follow us on Facebook and Twitter. You can find us at Froggy Style Productions. That's Frog, the letter E, Style Productions. For more ways to support the show, visit fsproductions.ca.